I can't even express this enough. Like, there's no one harder to train with than my brother. Like, no grappler harder to train with than Elias. I get nervous. I get nervous having to train with him. Like, when him and I are about to roll, I'm like, okay, all right, yeah, let's do this. You know, he's a well, first of all, he's crazy, but he's just an extremely disciplined athlete. So, yeah, training with him can't. I mean, there's no one that can emulate that.
I know that you're putting it on him and saying he's crazy, but don't you feel he would say the exact same thing about you?
Yeah, well, I'm sure, but
What's up, everybody? It is your friendly neighborhood BJJ podcaster, Rafa Esparza, coming to you with another great installment of Grappling Hour. I hope that you're having a very good day. I am. It's even better when I get to talk to you guys or get to perform a little bit of an interview so that you guys can see excellence in the world of grappling and jiu-jitsu. And today's guest definitely demonstrated some excellence in grappling in the Bellator cage. But let's get to him in a minute. First, I want to tell you guys, if you haven't subscribed to the Grappling Hour, it would mean the world to me. Now, obviously, it'd be great if you follow us and like us and subscribe to all of our different channels on all of our social media. That's at Grappling Hour on all the major platforms. And yes, it's even better when it's on YouTube, but it really does mean more to us if you guys become subscription members, meaning if you guys become subscribers on HY.PAGE/Grappling Hour and either become early access members where you see these interviews 30 days before anybody else, or you become premium members and see additional content. That means you're looking at our stuff, you're seeing the different episodes that are only available to those subscribers at the premium level, meaning new episodes, premium content in terms of, let's say, I don't know, breakdowns of certain people's rear naked choke finishes, maybe a certain guest that is on the show today. We'll get to that in a second. But what I'm telling you guys is this. If you so much love us and support us here on the show, it would mean the world to us. And I would very much appreciate you guys coming in, giving us some love, giving us some support. It would be great. All right, what are we doing here today? Well, let's talk about this. Our guest is, he's a good egg. I normally like him when he's not lying to me. We'll get to that in a second here. I like this guest because the last time we spoke, it was very nice. We had a very good conversation. I felt like we got to know each other and trust each other, which is why I felt so betrayed when I said, hey, is there anything we can plug to this guest? Is there anything we can bring up? Maybe something like a super fight, something coming up. And he goes, no, Raf, there's nothing else that's coming up. I don't have anything. Lo and behold, several days later, I see this young man taking a match in Combat Jiu-Jitsu in beautiful Mexico. And I think to myself, what is this man doing in a Combat Jiu-Jitsu match when he told me he didn't have matches coming up? Was it a lie? Did something come up? And why wasn't I the first to be notified? So that's why we ask our guest, a recent winner in the Bellator cage via rear naked choke, one, LAIRD Anderson. What is the deal and why did you lie to me, sir?
Well, first of all, there was no intention of lying to you whatsoever. If I had any sort of clue that I was going to compete in a combat jiu-jitsu match, I obviously would have told you first, but that wasn't the case. It came up sporadically, and I ended up doing it because I had some extra shorts, and they gave me a rash guard, and I stepped on the mat.
So hold on. All it took was you getting some extra shorts and you were like, I'm in.
Well, so I was sitting there watching the event. Obviously, my brother, Elias Anderson, competed in the main event against Uriah Faber. And we got there at the time that he was supposed to get there. And we were watching the match right next to like the production team. And I kind of like overheard some people saying like, oh, we need a match. Like, this guy's not here, blah, blah, blah. And so I looked at Elias and I was like, I think they need someone to compete. And he was, and sure enough, Elias walks up to them and he's like, my brother will compete. My brother will compete. Like, he'll do it. And they're like, really? Oh my God, that would be awesome. Laird, like, you'll take this match against David Weintraub. I competed against David Weintraub, I think a year ago at the Combat Jiu-Jitsu, the featherweights, where Keith won it. And so I was like, okay, it's a match I've already had, but I definitely wanted to give him the opportunity to compete. He came all the way out there. He was supposed to have a match, so I thought it was. I told him to give me some time. I was like, can you give me time to think about it? And they were like, sure, run a commercial break. And I was like, okay, I only have the commercial to decide whether or not I'm supposed to be in this match. But yeah, I decided to do it, and ended up being a lot of fun.
Kudos to you for doing it. I was really proud. But let me tell you what was happening on my side of the world, okay? And why this was so heartbreaking. So I had a pal who decided to come train with me on this day. And I was pointing out the fact, I was putting over your brother. I was like, oh man, he's a beast. I love him. He's great. Oh, he's got a brother and he's a really, really good competitor. And he goes, oh, that's awesome. I go, yeah, I just interviewed him. I thought we hit it off pretty well. And he goes, oh, would he be competing today? And I go, no, under no circumstances is he competing today. I know that because he told me. And no sooner do I finish that sentence than on the TV as we're training, he goes, isn't that guy you said that wasn't going to compete? And I go,
You're like,
oh, no. My boy's looking at me and he's like, I mean, it's not a big deal, Ref. And I go, it is a big deal to me. We could have plugged this. We could have talked about this. And I'm just staring at this TV. And again, another great performance by you. And I'm thinking to myself, I go, I can't even be happy that he's winning because I'm too busy being mad that he lied to me. And I'm pretty sure I sent you a text that said as much, that was like, congrats. And I think you knew the minute I sent you that text, which was,
yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And do you have something to tell me now?
Yeah. Yeah, no, it was, I mean, to give you a little closure on it, it was literally 5 minutes. 5 minutes. That all happened. They asked me to compete. I said yes. I put on the extra shorts that I brought there because I always pack like no-gi stuff just in case for a situation like this, right? And then they gave me a rash guard. That's why I walked out with the Team Mexico rash guard, right? They gave me that rash guard, and then I went and I started warming up, and like maybe 3 minutes in, they called me and they're like, all right, are you ready to go? I was like, okay. So like all of about 5 minutes, I went from talking to Eddie about competing, getting my rash guard on, warming up, and then stepping on the mat.
It's some closure. I'll give you that. I don't know that it really, a therapist would tell me that I'm done with this issue. There is a certain part where I congratulate you. And I did note in our conversation, I was like, you know what I did see? I saw that you were amazing in your finish. And I made a mental note to stay away from your head and arm. And you were like, I'm so sorry, man. I feel bad. However, that head and arm is coming. And I thought to myself, this man can't even just let lie alone. He has to threaten me at the end of this conversation. And I just said, you know what? Fine. I'm resigned to my fate, but you don't have nice slaps to set it up. Well, here's the problem. After this most recent win, I see you don't even need that sometimes.
Yeah. Well, I mean, yeah. I like to throw the strikes, but also, I mean, the one thing with the David Weintraub match is I felt like my jiu-jitsu was better. You know, I felt like my jiu-jitsu had improved since the first time we competed. So, I wanted to kind of feel where I was there, you know, because when you involve the strikes, it actually like, it turns it into a whole different game, right? It turns it into a different sort of art. When someone's striking at you, you're grappling differently, you know. And that's one thing I've noticed doing MMA. It's like my grappling is completely different doing MMA versus doing strictly jiu-jitsu, right? So I wanted to see where my jiu-jitsu had improved. So I didn't strike much in the David Weintraub match, but I felt the improvement in my jiu-jitsu, which was nice. And then obviously didn't need to throw much in my recent Bellator event either.
We'll get to that a little bit later, but I do want to tell people, if you are so interested in seeing this man break down one of his fights, you can go to our premium section. We'll obviously talk a little bit about it here in general, in broad terms, but I'm specifically interested in that breakdown a little bit later. We'll return to that in a moment. But I do want to continue on this one idea, which is I've noticed improvements in your jiu-jitsu because you're able to combine so many different elements. Like, it's one thing to say that the strikes do open things up for you, but your classic jiu-jitsu and the pressure that it looks like you put on certain situations look very tough. And most people just have that, but then you add in your very clean, very efficient wrestling, and it's really something to watch because at its purest, it looks so much fun and like so effortless to those of us who are watching. And I had told you off air that I let out a few expletives when I was watching you because I thought to myself, I was like, I've gotten a lot of rear naked chokes in my life. None of them have looked that easy. And it is a testament to how good your skill is. So let's kind of resolve this, which is I need to be your first call. I'm not your agent or anything. I have nothing to do with you. But I need to be your first call when you get a super fight. Even if it's like right there, it'd be like, hey, run another commercial. I got to text Raph because it's a little offensive to me. And here I am putting you over. Even my small circles being like, he's awesome. He's great. He does lie though.
Next time I'll think about that for sure. I'm gonna make it a mental note. I'm gonna put like a friggin' alarm or anything just every day. If you get a super fight today, make sure to text Raph.
I'm just saying, thank you so much. That makes me feel so much better. Because listen, in this day and age, there are so many different podcasts, so many different shows that all these people have alliances to. Like everybody has one. And yeah. I get territorial. I look at people and I'm like, how dare you tell this to that other person? You tell it to me first. All right. I don't see you threatening those other hosts. You threaten me. I think I get something in return. And
that's true. If I get to threaten you, I get to give you some.
Absolutely. And I'm like, another talk show host or host in this region won't take you up on these training offers. I will. Mm-hmm. The odds are not great for me. However, I don't run away from it. I'm just like, this is going to suck, but how long is it going to take him?
The odds for you are probably better than most talk show hosts. So,
hey, listen, you know what? That's going on a t-shirt because I take pride in that. Because that's the other hard part is I look around at some of these other hosts and I love it when they ask questions when you can realize that they don't train. I'm like, y'all know I suck, but at least you know I train. So that's the kind of 1-2 punch that I like. So let's get into this. I noticed again, a certain somebody made an appearance when you were getting together for your week of fights. However, I also put together some other information that we need to discuss. But the first of which is you had an appearance again by your beloved Boji, who has become a huge fan favorite, but he once again was front and center. And this time you got even more adorable photos. So what was the thought? Because you've already done it once. Was it an expectation that he was supposed to be in these? Or was it a continuation? Because it looked like you guys were developing a storyline in this series of photos that you took this time.
Yeah, no, I think it's a continuation. I think from here on out, Boji will be in all the media photos for any event going forward for sure. I mean, he's like, he's not a lucky charm. I don't believe in that. I believe in the hard work, obviously, but he's my right hand man, my right hand boy. So we go everywhere together. We we do everything together. So I had to take him. But the thing you might not know is that my opponent actually brought his dog to the whole media week, right? So I thought maybe that he did it on purpose because he saw the traction that I got, the traction that Boji got from the previous event in Chicago, and he maybe wanted to kind of mimic that in a way.
I legit did notice that. And that was the other part of the research that I was bringing up here, which is that it wasn't until you and I agreed that we were going to do the interview that I went back to look at the footage. And of course, I saw the Boji photos. I did not see him at the weigh-ins. And when I saw him at the weigh-ins, as I was doing this research, I thought, oh, well, what does Boji feel about that? Because there's another dog that made its way onto there. You've mentioned that Boji should be in your corner, and yet that to me looked like one step closer than what you've given Boji. So what say you about that?
Yeah, Boji had a talk with me afterwards. He was pretty upset, but no, he was not. Obviously, he didn't get to go on the stage, but he was at the weigh-in, so I'm sure he was watching and frowning and in complete, disbelief as to why I didn't bring him on there. But I thought it was hilarious. I had no clue that he was going to bring his dog onto the weigh-in stage, and then, yeah, I mean, he had a cute dog, so it was funny.
Can we talk about the missed opportunity here, though? The fact that you guys always have to do a weigh-in photo. All right, tired, true, seen it a million times. You guys holding the dogs to do a pose off would have broken all of the internet, because even in this photo, and we'll do a superimpose of this that people could see it, even in this photo that I've got right here, you're literally putting his dukes up. You are literally being like, no, good form, right up this way.
Yeah.
And this dog is just like doing this. And I
he was a little, I wish his arms could turn in. Obviously, he's a little lazy.
Is he? I'm sure he's very lazy. That's the biggest issue I take away from that photo. But when I look at it, I think to myself, damn, we were so close to getting a dog pose off photo, and I bet your opponent would have been game for it. But here we are, alas, dogless, no fight pose photos. If another dog makes his way over, and let's say you go first or something happens, do we now have a contingency plan built in to be like, release Boji? Like, do we have a code that we're saying now? Because I think that needs to be added in.
Yeah, I got like a whistle that I do, and then Boji's right next to my son. That's pretty much it. But yeah, that was like the talk of the whole fight week was, I mean, everyone was like, oh, you and your opponent's dog have to do like a little, what's the real main event? But I mean, I thought it was hilarious.
I was oddly aghast when I saw it, because I go, oh my God, how's Boji feel? Oh my God. And again, it's all after the fact. So I'm seeing it later, and I just go, all right, well, this is something he's going to have to account for. So of course, Boji makes his way. He's with you. Now this one was in San Jose. So at least you had some family members, some people who could come see it. Whereas before you were in Chicago when we talked, and even then you were in Mexico. So you didn't exactly have a home to field or hometown advantage in those situations. What did it feel like to fight so closer to having at least, your camp and friends and family who could come see you like that?
Yeah, it felt good. I mean, the biggest thing to me, like for training and competing, is like to give everything in your training, in your competition, to the people that support you. The people that actually like give their time to support and care for your journey. That's the people you got to do it for. If you're lazy in your training, then you're basically doing a disservice to them. So everything I do in my training and my daily life and discipline is, I know, I think about that. I think about my supporters. I think about my friends and my close friends and my family and everyone else that supports me as well. And it helps drive me. So being there and like feeling that energy, it helped a lot. It was really nice.
That's awesome. I would love for you to tell me just the general takeaways that you had, because it was a pretty quick match, but I wanted to ask, what specifically were you working on to kind of show off in this match? And was that it? Because to me, it looked like when it happens that fast, I almost don't even get to see all of the things that you worked on, I'm sure, in this camp taking place, because obviously it's a long camp that you go through for these things. And then to win that quickly, maybe you don't display everything, but it certainly did come into play and it was very effective. So what kind of was the game plan coming in?
Yeah, I mean, my game plan for the most part always remains pretty similar. There's like minor adjustments to what the other person does, but my game plan is always the same. Get to my wrestling, get to my grappling. In this specific fight, I was actually more nervous leading into this event than any other event prior. I think it was just like, I mean, there was a lot of factors, but seeing his previous fight and knowing the type of fighter he was, and knowing how crazy the sport of mixed martial art is, it's like there's always that like snowball's chance in hell that anything can happen. Even if you prepare your very best. So yeah, I had a lot of nerves going into this, so I wanted to stay as sharp as possible. But the biggest thing for us was to feint a lot, right? So if you see in my fight, I'm doing a lot of feinting in the beginning to get to my strikes, and I wanted to show that I could strike with them. It kind of felt from a lot of people, not like my close group, but from a lot of people, the energy felt like, oh, you got to get this guy to the ground, because his striking is crazy. His striking is this, his striking is that. So I wanted to show at least like I'm quicker, I'm faster. I feel like I'm more cerebral when it comes to the striking game, the stand up game, and just the game of mixed martial arts in general. So I wanted to show that. Um, I was obviously able to land some strikes, and then as soon as I got the chance to tie up with him, I never like don't take that opportunity. If I clinch with someone, or if we get into a grappling exchange, I'm always going to take the opportunity to try to put it to my world, to try to take it to my world.
And it was very effective. And I did notice on the broadcast they mentioned that you had moved camps. So what was the details behind that? Because I know you've been a staple in Northern California. I know that you have ties also to Nevada. So I know there's so many different little regions that have aspects of you and your family. But what drew you out to Texas?
So initially, what drew me out to Texas was, I was training at AKA, and a couple of my buddies, Kyle Crutchmer, he's also top 10 welterweight in Bellator, and then Nick Piccinini, who is a top prospect. He's an Oklahoma State D1. I mean, both of them are, but he's an Oklahoma State 3-time All-American D1 wrestling, and so they helped me a lot in my camps when I was at AKA. They provided me, with wrestling technique, MMA technique, just the experience that Crutchmer had. He helped me every day in that room. And then Nick, the experience he had in wrestling, he was able to give me so much. So we kind of connected really well when I was training at AK and started becoming friends and getting closer. So when they decided that they were going to check out Dallas and go to Fortis MMA and kind of explore their options there, they invited me to do so. And so I said, yeah, I'll go out for a week and a half, and we'll see exactly what the environment is and if we like it. And so I did that, ended up loving it, you know. Um, and the training was perfect. The training was great, training with Kyle and Nick, and then the other guys included at Fortis MMA. They have a lot of UFC fighters, a lot of Bellator fighters, just a good amount of professionalism in that gym, and Coach Safe obviously runs a tight ship. So um, seeing how it worked and seeing how it was run, it was very appealing to me. Yeah.
So how long did you end up staying out the way? Because you mentioned it was going to be for a week and a half. Was it just the week and a half, or did you end up staying longer out there?
Yeah. So I ended up deciding to finish my camp out there. And what the initial thought process was that I was going to live out there, right? Um, Kyle and Nick, they moved out there, so my initial thought process was, okay, I'm gonna live out here. I've loved the training thus far, and I'm going to just continue my career and journey here. But there has been, and this is news to everyone. I've only kept this to like close friends and family thus far, but I've already talked to Coach Safe. I've talked to other people about this, but uh, I'm not gonna be in Dallas anymore. I'm gonna be relocating to Nevada with my dad, and you know, big thing is like when I started everything with my dad and my brother. That's how I started this journey was with them, and we got to a high level just just with the two of them, me and Elias both. So um, that can't be ignored. Half half the reason I'm the athlete I am is because of the two of them. So um, I kind of want to just finish this MMA game exactly how I started, and that's with them in my corner and them by my side watching my training. Um, my dad coaching me, telling me what to do, how to do it, and then Elias helping me with everything else. And then we'll get the training partners and we'll get all that. But I put a huge emphasis on I need to train at this big gym with these UFC fighters and these Bellator fighters, and um, I'm glad I did for the time being because I was able to understand what level I was at and kind of take all that information, all that experience, all the just the wealth of experience from the variety of different fighters that I got to train with and compete with at both gyms, Fortis and AKA. And with that knowledge, I kind of want to just train with my brother and my dad and go back to my roots and have success doing that. And I believe that I can, and I believe that I could still be a great fighter doing so.
I totally understand that. I've recently told people in my life where for years I didn't really compete. I didn't care to do that. And a big thing for me was helping out at this gym and being an instructor. And there's this teenage kid, and he was just like, "Hey, I want to compete." Before you know it, the head coach is like, "I'm competing too." And I was like, "You don't even like
Yeah.
jiu-jitsu. What even like? Why would you even do this?" And then it makes you
Yeah.
think. It's like, "All right, I'll do it too." And he's like, "Why? You don't compete?" And I was like, "Well, one, if you have a reason, it makes sense." And I could go anywhere, and I have a lot of friends in this very nice and small industry, but it's like it would mean more to do something here than it would anywhere else. So to
Yeah.
me, when you tell me that you want to work with your family, it's not disrespectful to anybody else. You're very, very complimentary to the people that you've worked with and what they afford you. And you know
Yeah.
that there's a very clear path if you continue working with them. But the fact that you could work with your family, with your dad, who's been such a huge influence in your life, and your brother, who you guys speak in a weird, almost twin-like language with each other when you get to communicate and really, really vibe with each other, like
Yeah.
there's a part of you, I'm sure, that recognizes there's a strength in that and that would mean more with those wins. So
Yeah.
I think in my way, I do understand it. And I'm excited because every time I see you and your brother together, I think to myself, what incredible talent the two of you have and how
Yeah.
much you legitimately root for each other. And it is so refreshing to see.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, thank you. Yeah, I think the biggest I learned so much at both AK and Fortis. In the time I was at AK, I was at AK longer, but even in the short time that I was at Fortis, I took so much from that. But I think the biggest thing that I can take away and the biggest thing that can help me in my career from training at those places and training with those guys is just it built that confidence within me to be like, okay, I'm here. I know where I stand as far as this game goes, and I know where I can take this. Um, so I'm super thankful for that. And yeah, as far as Elias goes, no one I can't even express this enough. Like there's no one harder to train with than my brother. Like no grappler harder to train with than Elias. I get nervous. I get nervous having to train with him. Like when him and I are about to roll, I'm like, okay, all right, yeah, let's do this. you know, he's a well, first of all, he's crazy, but he's just an extremely disciplined athlete. So yeah, training with him can't. I mean, there's no one that can emulate that.
I know that you're putting it on him and saying he's crazy, but don't you feel he would say the exact same thing about you?
Yeah, well, I'm sure, but I Elias kind of he guided me in a way. Even though we're only a year and a half apart, I got to see him do everything first. I got to see him compete first. I got to see him fight professionally first. He's kind of like paved the way for me, even in the factor of discipline. He's the most disciplined athlete I know. Like I've hung around plenty of professional athletes, professional MMA fighters, professional rugby players I know. All these professional athletes I've been around and hung around, not a single one of them has been as disciplined as Elias. Like that, it's hard for me to keep up with that. So being able to see that is like it keeps me, nose to the grindstone. So, I have to thank him for everything.
I just want to point out the original question was you said he's crazy. You went on a very complimentary nature of him and was like, no, he's great. I mean, he's very efficient in his training and also
I
very
think,
smart,
yeah,
but nowhere in that very nice complimentary message did you address the idea that no, he's
yeah,
insane. I did
yeah.
insinuate that.
Well, I think what makes him crazy is he is just the way he grapples and the way he trains. It's like if Elias and I didn't set a timer to grapple with each other, like he would go forever. Like he will go forever. I don't think he'll ever stop. If we were grappling, it's scary. We've done that before, and I'm like, oh my gosh, he's never like he won't stop, and he gets like more intense as it goes on. So yeah, he's just kind of it's in his head, and I think that's what makes him great.
So then is the goal, and I could be off here, is the goal then to build and continue building in that Nevada region, like your own team, whether it's a jiu-jitsu team, a fight team, whatever it is, or is it just more so to take the time to focus a little bit on you and then by proxy in time, perhaps do other ambitions?
Yeah, I think that's exactly it. I want to just dial in what it would look like and what it will be as a fight camp for myself with the two of them. And and then yeah, obviously like the my vision in the future is to build almost like I've always wanted to build like a private facility for a close group of people, close group of fighters I know. The guys that have helped me, the guys that I can give knowledge to. And we could kind of build each other up, be in this like tight, kind of similar to the Kamaru Usman and Justin Gaethje. Like they're in that small group, him, Justin Gaethje, Rose Namajunas, and then like they invite a few others into that into Trevor Whitman's camp, right? So something similar to that, but that's further down the line. But as of now, yes, just dial in my training with my brother and my dad and see how to make that the most optimal.
I can 100% see that. And especially now that you and your brother have built such reputable individual careers, like the things that
Mhm.
you have both done individually, people would be stupid not to go train with you guys because you offer so much. Whereas maybe even though you were good at the very beginning of your starts of MMA or your really heavy competitive jiu-jitsu nature, there's always that thing of like, oh, people go, I can get good training anywhere. But now if
Yeah,
people were to be invited by you, there's an actual like, oh, these are professionals calling me to
yeah,
be there. And they've made it very well known that it's a small, tight knit group that they keep.
yeah.
So to get that call is like, hey, we expect you to be a certain caliber of person, but also somebody that we want to be around.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. That's what we talk about, and that's what we envision. It's just like building that group, building that circle, and yeah, having a team of professionals and a team that we actually care about. You know, if we don't mesh with you personality wise, then we don't need to have that. anyone and yeah, building ourselves to the point where people will want to train with us. I think we're continuously doing that. And I think at a point, yeah, people are going to reach out to us. We can reach out to people, but eventually, uh, I didn't, for a while, it was important for me to be like, oh, I want to train here, I want to train there. But now I think I want to take the journey towards people wanting to train where I'm training, or with me. So yeah, um, that's all part of the goal.
Well, it's very good. And thank you for sharing that, because I do understand how odd these conversations can be. People can take things 100 different ways, but I think you say it very clearly. It's, you got great training from them. You would continue getting great training from them if you stayed there, but you have your reasons to try something that you feel will have a longer term benefit to you, your family, and a future that could very well build something. And I guess the nice part that I always think about is, because so many more people are a little bit more aware of cross training and have those relationships, you can very easily see how you can even pull some of those people to come train with you, or you can go cross train whenever it's available to you. Because originally you mentioned how your trip to Texas was only supposed to be a week and a half, and it was almost with that in mind. So it's entirely possible there could be another week and a half where you do some specialty training and go somewhere else. But to be able to bring them to your home, especially as you start to build other students, it will have very, very high results, I think. And I think putting in that legwork now, it's tougher, but it's also way more fulfilling.
Yeah, I agree. And I think there's a ton of resources for me and my brother to utilize. And we just got to get on it. Just get to building it. So I'm excited.
Well, that's awesome. And also now I know I'm going to be like, well, if I ever have a super fight, I'm going to have to work out time with the gentleman over that way. And they're gonna be like, Raph, where'd you go? I was like, I'm just going to like Nevada. Sorry, guys.
Yeah, like, I mean, the biggest thing for me was like just being with family is where I'm happiest, being with that close group. And my dad specifically he's the most studious guy I know. So like to put him below any of the other coaches I've trained with, not, would be crazy. Would be crazy to me. I think he's just as studious and just as knowledgeable, if not more knowledgeable than most coaches I've been around, and that's not any knock at any coach that I've trained with. That's, they're all super knowledgeable in their own way. But yeah, my dad is always researching, always giving Elias and I new things to think about, new things to train, new ways to train, new ways to recover. So yeah, being around him is going to be where my happiness is built the most. And I've been saying lately is, I think a happy and a healthy warrior is a deadly warrior.
So who are you saying this to? Like, what is happening here? You're just like literally
just
walking around and just being like, a happy warrior is one that kills. Am I right, Mom? Anyway, good day, everybody. Bye.
Yeah, I just go through Sprouts and Whole Foods and hey, did you know?
This poor kid at Starbucks is like, well, sir, here's your caramel macchiato. Please enjoy your day.
Like, man, be a little happier because you'd be killing these Starbucks drinks.
Hey, man, I think that's great. And kudos to you and your family. That sounds like wonderful news. So where exactly is the facility? Last I thought, I remembered it's in Reno, correct?
So we don't have, my dad doesn't have a facility or anything. He's based in Carson City, Reno area, but that's just the vision. That's the future vision, is Elias and I want to build a private facility, but we want to put our roots in somewhere, so where our family is, my sister, my stepmom, my mom, my father, they're all in Carson City, Reno area. So yeah, just Carson, Reno, Tahoe, that area is where we want to start building that.
Copy that. Okay. So those of you watching who are looking to aspire at some point to get good training somewhere in that region, just put a map, put a circle in there and say coming soon. And more importantly, I just know as you narrowed that down and you get that focus, it'll obviously be for what's next. So I guess the question is, because I asked this last time and apparently it was worthless, what is coming up next? Because, you get this fight, it doesn't look like you took much injury at all or anything, but of course fight camps themselves are wear and tear. So what in your head is coming up next?
Yeah, I mean, like most fighters will tell you exactly what you just said. The training camp is going to be the hardest, typically the hardest part on your body, in total. And this training camp specifically was extremely intensive on my body. I started it with an injury. I had a hairline fracture and an AC joint sprain in my shoulder. So I started it with that. And then just, the time of, I was also at AK when I started my camp, you know? So I was there, and then I traveled to Dallas, um, and then I was doing my training there. And then I decided, okay, I'm going to move to Dallas. So then I went back to San Jose. I picked up all my stuff in a car. I drove there, all, however long it is, 24 hours, I think, maybe longer, to Dallas, got my stuff situated, got in an apartment, and then continued this super intense training. The reason I walked out to that song "No Easy Way Out," from the Rocky Four theme, um, was because that was kind of the theme for my camp. There was no easy route taken. It was all the hardest stuff we could do, and just grinding through it, just grinding through the whole thing. And so yeah, that song was kind of like the theme for this whole journey, this whole 8-week camp, from AK to Dallas, and then to the fight.
I gotta
So
tell you,
yeah,
I don't know that I was more proud of you. You've already done a lot of good things between taking photos with your dogs, being a generally good person, taking super fights on seconds notice. All of that's in the past. The big
yeah,
thing that I remembered sitting there at my TV as I was watching you was hearing you walk out to, first of all, a song from the greatest movie of all time,
yeah,
made me just beaming with joy. And you picked that song. And I
yeah,
understand now that there is some context to it, but
yeah,
when did you know you wanted that song? Because to me, that's a no brainer as like a top 5 on what I would walk out to
yeah.
if I was walking out, but for very different
I think
reasons.
Yeah, I think it was actually like pretty early into the camp. I was like listening to those Rocky theme songs going to training or like leaving training. And I kind of I'll do like I'll take some time to kind of figure out what I want to walk out to. And then like I chose, okay, I think I want to walk out to one of the Rocky songs, right? And then it just like as the camp went on, it was more apparent that No Easy Way Out was the vibe and the total, you know, theme of that camp and the training. So yeah, I think I chose it about maybe 5 weeks prior to the fight. So there was time I would listen to it. I would do my workouts. I would do my runs, and that's the song that was playing. And yeah, it helped me through the whole thing. Um, but to answer your uh, previous question, correct? Um, you were asking about what it sorry. Actually, I totally spaced it.
No, no, no. Okay. Let me help you out here. So
Yeah,
we were originally getting to the idea of as you were coming into this fight, right?
yeah.
You go through a lot of different experiences, what brings you
Right, right,
here.
right, right.
So my whole thing is once you went down the pathway of No Easy Way Out, I was more
Got
so
it.
in awe that you were choosing that song. So this is me interrupting you. That was the last part that we left off on.
All right, my bad.
Now, don't you
Um,
have no bad. I interrupted your thought
yeah.
process in a way that derailed the train, so it's my fault here. If anybody gets any blame, I guess I would ask this: if you did use that song, do you not understand that that movie probably broke a record for most montages because there's not one, there's 4 montages in that movie. And the best part
Yeah.
about No Easy Way Out is
Yeah.
there is a montage where Rocky is getting ready to take on this Soviet steroided machine. And I thought to myself, where's the montage here? Like, how did you
Yeah.
miss this opportunity, sir? This is the best thing. Like, anytime I hear that song, I imagine myself in a montage.
Yeah. Yeah, I should have, I should have done that. I should have made the whole montage video leading up to the fight with that song. And then when I walked out, people probably would have had more context to it. It's also a long song, so when I was walking out, I kind of had to time it enough to where it hit that there's no easy way out. But yeah, I think I missed it by just a tad. Either way, it was a good entry. But montage video next.
Thank you. I'm just saying, I'm out here to try and right wrongs that were made. And whenever I get the opportunity to tell someone, I'm like, no, 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 kid, this is what we're supposed to do. I guess famously, in one of our WWE BJJ things, we did a bit where we were building up my opponent so that he would look kind of like indestructible. So he does a whole Rocky montage. And the thing is, I just beat him very quickly. So
Yeah.
we build up him thing like he's unbeatable.
Yeah.
He's beating all of his training
Yeah.
partners up, and then I very just quickly beat him. And in order to get around being able to use it, we found a version of it where I sang over it, and I hit a certain low register note that I was
Yeah.
singing it in. And I just remembered telling somebody, I was like, they're like, oh, this isn't the original song. I was like, yeah, that's me doing a version that he's on steroids,
Oh my
singing that version of it. And they were like,
No, you need to send me that audio and maybe that'll be my next walkout song.
I'm just, you know what the dumb part is? It's very specific to our storyline. I don't know that it'll play to yours, but I will 100% send you the video because
Yeah.
my homie, when I sent him the montage plus the song, I remembered him telling me, he was like, this is so gloriously stupid. And I go, honestly, that's what I aspire to. So if I ever hit that mark, that's when I know I've truly reached new levels. With that being said, we were talking about what's next is the general idea. Yeah. So was there a connecting point from you saying like, hey, yeah, I chose this song before I cut you off of the what's next sort of a thing?
Yeah. That's exactly what I was thinking about. But no, there's nothing because of the intensive training camp and because of everything I went through. I'm just kind of taking the time to let my body heal and to let my mind heal and kind of just take a step off the horse for a little bit. And obviously, with that being said, I'm sure once my body feels better and I start training 2 days later, I'm gonna want to fight. So, but as of now, there's really nothing that I have in mind or any date or any sort of time frame. I'm just gonna take the rest, let my body recover, and then get back into it.
Copy that. We'll see you at a jiu-jitsu competition in probably 2 days. You know what? There's another EBI going around, or a combat jiu-jitsu thing going around, and you better believe I'm like, I don't even think this is his weight, but I literally every day just stare at it and I'm like, is that him? Is he in this? Is he lying to me? So you understand. Now I'm on high alert.
Oh yeah, no, I get it. There's a little bit of PTSD from what I did, but
absolutely. And I'm glad that you understand when you say something like what I did, you understand you were wrong in this situation. And I'm glad we were able to rectify that here because again, I don't like beef. I get rid of beef on air. That's why I talk to people. Yeah. I don't talk about, I don't put this out on the internet. I didn't say like, oh, look at this loser. I was like, no. We'll talk it out digital face-to-face over here and we'll get this settled because the last thing I need is for us to have any beef when we're actually training because that would actually be very bad. Having said all that, I guess even though you mentioned you don't know what's next, it did look very nice to see you competing in jiu-jitsu. So what compelling reasons or things do we need to do to be able to pull you away from what is a very, very good MMA career that I really don't want to interrupt, but like, gotta be honest with you, man. It was really fun to see you on that big stage. And I think to myself, you look so comfortable and so fitting there. It would be great to see you there. So what would it take to get you back on the jiu-jitsu competition circuit just for some shits and giggles?
Yeah, I think it would have to be like a specific match. There's matches that I've lost that I feel like would be way more competitive now. Um, and yeah, I think it would have to be a specific match. Obviously, like the people that I would like to compete against are big names, and it'd be much harder to make that happen. But or just like doing something with my brother, something connected with my brother, not competing against him, obviously, but doing something where like he's the main event, I'm on that card with him, or something that can be sold in that sense, where it's the two brothers coming together and they're competing at the same time, But uh it's hard for me right now to like want to compete in jiu-jitsu. And I think I said the same thing the last time we had an interview, and then obviously I took that short notice match. But in my heart, I'm like I'm set on MMA right now, and that's where I want to kind of just focus my time and whatnot. But yeah, it won't be impossible to get me back, but I think there'd have to be some certain circumstances.
All right, we're gonna keep pushing for this tag team event versus the Rotolos.
Yes, I would love to.
That's all I want. Listen,
That
if
would
I
be
could get
fun.
you guys and the Rotolos, I think that's a huge
Yes, please.
main event
That's the
somewhere.
name. 'Cause I competed against Cade, and he kind of, you probably watched the match, but um, yeah, he was really strong, and I think I was less confident in myself then, as a competitor and as a grappler. But yeah, yeah. I mean, you know that I enjoy watching those guys a lot, so to be able to compete against Cade would be freaking amazing.
They don't need much excuse. And in fact, I argue they probably don't even need that much money. I think they're just happy to be anywhere
Yeah,
grappling. Even as it
they seem
stands,
like those type of
I
guys.
still think they want to murder me at some point, and they're the nicest murderers that I know. So I think
Yeah,
there's
yeah.
that. Let me do this. We're going to go ahead and start to wrap it up here, but I would like to provide an opportunity for you to shout out anybody who helped you in this camp, helped you get ready, and made it so that you could get a win. So feel free to shout out training partners, camps, and or sponsors. Camera is going straight on you, sir.
Yeah, no, the biggest shout out for this camp is obviously Fortis MMA, Coach Safe, and the guys there. Um, Abdul El Sawadi, he's the newly crowned Fury lightweight champ, and he helped me a lot. Kyle Crutchmer, obviously huge, huge help in my last 3 MMA camps. Nick Piccinini as well. But the ones that stand out the most, to me always are my brother Elias. He's in my ear, talking to me always and helping me always with my camps. And, we've just done everything together. So shout out to him. Shout out to my girlfriend, Tina Linsema, who's always in my corner and always helping me every single day. And my family as well. My sister was in my corner. She got to watch and got to be a part of that event. So I love her. Lola Anderson, that's my sister. Um, and then my family, my dad, my mom, my stepmom, everyone that's given me support in this journey. I thank you all.
That's very nice. We got to circle around two quick things before I finish, but I believe number one is that from the last time I interviewed with you, I did ask you for some tips on wrestling. And then since then, we recently got a wrestling coach, a D1 wrestler from Duke. And he has been such a great, great help. And this dude, I tell him, I'm like, listen, dude, I am the worst student when it comes to this. I'm great at jiu-jitsu student, but terrible at this. And he's been very, very helpful. So I wanted to let you know
That's awesome.
that I've been working on it. It's still shit, but it's less shit. And
do you remember the tip that I gave you? I'm kind of
no, of course, because no. You aren't expected to know any of these things. I just as like we were winding down because your wrestling just looked again so effortless. I was like, I don't know that ship is sailed for me, but it definitely looks like I can't do it as fluidly as you can. And you were saying like, just chain together concepts, get really, really into drilling, do this sort of stuff. And I was like, sure. Yeah. So the way I structure my privates when I take them with this wrestling coach is I take the best of me as a coach for jiu-jitsu, and I'll usually start with 10 minutes. And because I tape everything, I'll show them something like, hey man, I got on this single leg and then I lost it. And I'll tell him, like, I know the problem. If we can spend 10 minutes on solutions for that one thing and then you go into your thing, then it's your game. Like, you tell me where to go. But I think he's approached working with me with this kind of like, oh, you really do your homework. You really write stuff down. And I was like, absolutely. I was like, this works. This does not. So I have to lean on this as much as possible.
Yeah.
So I wanted to thank you for the encouraging words the last time.
Yeah, well, I appreciate that.
And two, here's where we're getting into something that's real.
Mm-hmm.
So last time, you may recall that I had told you about our little thing that we call WWE BJJ.
Yeah.
We are about that time, my friend. So
I've noticed. Yeah,
we are. You've noticed. I'm just saying it's about 2 weeks away. It sounds like you're going to be near your brother, and it's for a big shiny belt. And I'm not saying you would win. I'm just saying you guys chain together stuff very nicely, so it's entirely possible you could win.
Okay. You know what? I'm gonna talk to him tonight, and you know what? I might actually get another one of my friends involved. He's kind of an athlete. He's a wrestler, but you know, we'll probably put something together.
Okay. I mean, I don't hear probably. I hear we will put something together.
We'll put something together. I'm gonna talk to him tonight. I'm gonna make it very convincing.
I want to point it out that this will allow me to forgive you for lying to me. Like, I can't promise that you guys win. I'm just letting you know that at the very least, when I saw your brother do a flip the last time, I was like, oh, well, that's really impressive. So, and he's just like, yeah, just imagine doing a flip. And then I could. I go, oh, this is so gross. This whole family is too talented. So I would hate to see those things go to waste. My hint to you guys, tell a good story. That's the thing. Yeah. Stories are it. So you've already had some experience being a heel. Just lean into that.
All right. Sounds good.
All right, man. So we're going to do the second part in a second here. I will talk to you off air in just a moment, but I'm going to close this up. My thanks. Much appreciation, dude. And congratulations to you. That was a very impressive win, but one that I knew you were more than capable of. And it's just so nice to see you getting these opportunities to really show off your hard work, sir.
Thank you. Appreciate it, Raph.
All right, you guys. So thank you guys so much for tuning in on over here at the Grappling Hour. Check this out. I'm going to remind you guys one more again. Like, subscribe, follow at Grappling Hour on all the major social media platforms. We're talking YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, Twitch, Instagram. Did I say that one? Didn't. Check those out. Follow us there. Give us some love. Give us some support. And become members over at HY.PAGE/Grappling Hour so that you guys can see these interviews 30 days before anybody else. And you can also, and this is a big one, you can also check out premium editions like the additional content we're going to do right now, where we're going to break down this man's fight. And I mean, we're going to spend more time talking about it than he did fight. Like, if we're being honest, and I'm doing that math because it's going to be a real quick one like that. But anyway, you get to hear a little bit of the details as to how this man is able to do this so effortlessly. That's going to do it for us here at the Grappling Hour today. It's been a great day for grappling. We'll see you back on the mats. Perfect.